This morning, the spiritual atmosphere surrounding one of the world's most significant holy sites has changed drastically. This is no longer business as usual. The visionary Mirjana Dragicevic has received new communications that carry implications far beyond anything anyone had predicted. Implications that reach directly across the Atlantic to us here in the United States. We need to be very clear about what is happening. These are not the ordinary messages of comfort or gentle guidance we have become accustomed to over the last 40 years. These are urgent, piercing warnings that speak directly to the terrifying crossroads where humanity currently stands. For over 4 decades, the small village of Medjugorje in Bosnia-Herzegovina has served as a lighthouse for millions of believers worldwide. Since the apparitions began in 1981, the messages have consistently offered profound spiritual depth, usually delivered with a mother's gentle patience. However, recent developments suggest we have crossed a threshold into an entirely new phase of history. The communications from the Virgin Mary through Mirjana have taken on an urgency that simply cannot be ignored. Sources close to the visionary confirm that the tone and content of these revelations have evolved into what can only be described as a final wake-up call. The events of the last few weeks paint a picture of direct divine intervention at a critical breaking point in human history. Pilgrims currently on the ground are reporting unexplainable phenomena surrounding the apparition site, events that science is struggling to categorize. We are hearing reports of lights appearing without any physical source, sudden and drastic drops in temperature, an overwhelming sense of a heavy presence that leaves even the most hardened skeptics weeping without explanation. These physical signs are not just random miracles. They coincide perfectly with Mirjana, receiving messages about imminent changes that will affect every single soul on earth. What makes these recent communications particularly significant is their departure from the soft, maternal tone of previous decades. The words of the Virgin Mary now carry the weight of extreme emergency. She speaks of time running out. She speaks of opportunities that, once missed, will never return. She speaks of choices that must be made immediately, not tomorrow. The message is stark and uncompromising. Humanity is standing on a precipice, and the window for spiritual preparation is closing rapidly. Mirjana herself has described the overwhelming nature of these recent encounters. Those who know her well report a visible shift in her demeanor. The joy is still there, but it is now overlaid with profound gravity, a burden that seems to weigh heavily on her shoulders. She speaks less frequently to visitors now, choosing instead to spend long, solitary hours in intense prayer and contemplation. When she does speak, her words carry an intensity that reflects the magnitude of what she has witnessed. But what exactly has she seen that has caused such a shift? As we analyze the content of these warnings, we discover they are addressing a specific spiritual crisis engulfing our world, a coldness of the heart that is more dangerous than any war. The content of these warnings addresses the spiritual crisis that is currently enveloping our world with surgical precision. The Virgin Mary is not speaking in metaphors. She is diagnosing a fatal condition. She speaks of hearts that have grown cold, of faith that has been abandoned like an old garment, and of souls wandering in darkness without a compass. She described a humanity that has largely drifted away from divine truth, choosing instead the empty promises of a world that offers everything except what truly matters. We see this every day: the pursuit of material success, the obsession with self, and the rejection of the sacred. But these observations are not presented merely as spiritual commentary. They are urgent diagnoses of a condition that threatens eternal consequences. According to those privy to the messages, the Virgin Mary emphasizes that the specific moment represents a unique opportunity in human history. Never before have souls been presented with such a stark, undeniable choice between light and darkness, between truth and deception, between salvation and destruction. Right now, the lines are drawn clearly, but she warns, and this is a terrifying part, that this clarity will not last forever. The fog is rolling in. The time for decision is approaching rapidly, and those who delay their response risk finding themselves unprepared when the moment of truth arrives. The warning specifically addressed the spiritual warfare intensifying around every single human soul. You might feel it in your own home, a tension that wasn't there 5 years ago. The Virgin Mary describes invisible battles being fought for the allegiance of hearts and minds. She speaks of deception so sophisticated that even those who consider themselves faithful are at risk of being led astray. The enemy of souls has deployed strategies of unprecedented subtlety, presenting evil as good and lies as truth. We are living in an age of inversion, where up is down and right is wrong. I want to pause here for a moment. If you are determined to hold on to your beliefs and protect your family from this confusion, I invite you to type the word faith in the comments below. Let's show the world that we are standing firm. The message is clear. Only those who maintain constant vigilance will navigate these treacherous times successfully. You cannot coast on the faith of your parents or the habits of your childhood. This is active warfare. But perhaps the most striking element of these recent messages is the remedy she proposes. It isn't a new strategy or a modern innovation. It is an ancient weapon that many have forgotten how to use effectively. As we move deeper into this revelation, we need to understand exactly what tool she is placing in our hands to fight this darkness. It is a tool that many dismiss as a simple ritual, but she describes it as a primary weapon for survival. What is this defense? And why does she say that without it, our families are left completely vulnerable? Particularly striking in these urgent communications is the Virgin Mary's emphasis on the power of prayer. She does not speak of prayer as a mere spiritual exercise, a calming meditation, or a weekly religious obligation. She presents it as the primary weapon in a cosmic battle, the essential tool for spiritual survival in the trials that are already knocking at our doors. She describes prayer in a very specific, almost tactile way. It creates protective barriers around souls, families, and communities. Without this protection, she warns that even people with the best intentions, good neighbors, loving parents, honest workers, will find themselves completely vulnerable to the spiritual attacks that are intensifying with each passing day. It is like walking into a blizzard without a coat. Without prayer, you are exposed. The messages turn a spotlight on the family unit, placing at the center of this unfolding drama of salvation. The Virgin Mary speaks with heartbreaking clarity about homes that have forgotten their sacred purpose. She sees families that no longer gather to pray, dinner tables where grace is never said, and children growing up without a spiritual foundation, untethered in a chaotic world. She warns that these vulnerabilities create openings, cracks in the foundation, that allow evil to establish strongholds in the very heart of society. The restoration of family prayer is not presented as a nice suggestion for those who have the time. It is presented as an urgent necessity for spiritual survival. She is essentially saying, build the shelter now before the storm hits. These developments in Medjugorje have caught the attention of church officials who previously maintained a cautious distance. Reports suggest that high-ranking clergy are beginning to take these messages far more seriously. Why the change of heart? Because of the undeniable accuracy of the prophecies regarding world events. The warnings given through Medjugorje about spiritual coldness, moral confusion, and societal breakdown have proven to be remarkably prescient. As global tensions rise and traditional values continue their decline, the validity of these messages becomes harder to dismiss. The Virgin Mary's warnings go beyond individual spiritual concerns. They encompass the broader trajectory of human civilization. She speaks of nations that have forgotten their divine foundations, of leaders making decisions without reference to eternal truth, and of societies celebrating what once brought shame. These are not political commentaries. They are spiritual diagnoses. She is showing us the root cause of our suffering. But what is the solution? The message is not just about identifying the problem. It is a call to immediate action. The Virgin Mary is demanding a complete turnaround, and she suggests that the luxury of thinking about it later no longer exists. Why is the timeline so critical right now? What emerges most clearly from these urgent communications is a demand for immediate action. The Virgin Mary is not speaking about a long-term plan for gradual spiritual improvement. She is not suggesting a slow reform that fits comfortably into our busy schedules. She is calling for immediate conversion. She is asking for an immediate return to prayer and an immediate abandonment of spiritual compromise. The warning suggests that the luxury of postponement, that feeling we all have that there's always tomorrow to get right with God, simply does not exist anymore. Every day of delay represents a potentially missed opportunity that might never return. The message is hauntingly specific. The window is open, but it is moving toward a close. The intensity of these messages has already created ripple effects throughout the global community of believers. We are seeing something remarkable happen on the ground. Prayer groups are reporting higher attendance than they have seen in decades. The lines for confession are stretching out the doors of churches, and many who had abandoned their religious practice are returning with a renewed, almost desperate commitment. It is as if the urgency in the Virgin Mary's voice is waking up a dormant instinct in the souls of the faithful, a sense that something unprecedented is approaching. Mirjana's role as the messenger has also taken on new dimensions as these warnings intensify. She speaks of feeling the crushing weight of responsibility to deliver these messages accurately and completely. Imagine the burden of carrying a divine communication intended for all of humanity. Those close to her report that she spends increasing amount of time in preparation for every apparition, understanding that the word she receives may determine the spiritual fate of countless souls. The warnings underscore that this moment in history will not be repeated. The Virgin Mary speaks of a unique convergence of circumstances. It is a time of high stakes, a period that offers a possibility for unprecedented grace, but also for devastating loss. The choices made by individuals and societies in the coming period will determine not just immediate consequences, but eternal destinies. The stakes cannot be higher, and the time for decision is getting shorter by the minute. If this message resonates deep within you, and you feel moved to affirm your readiness to answer this call, simply type Amen in the comments below. Let it be your personal declaration that you are listening. But the weight of these revelations is manifesting in ways that go far beyond the borders of Medjugorje itself. Reports are surfacing from prayer communities on 6 different continents, describing synchronized spiritual experiences. We are talking about people who have never met Mirjana, yet are feeling the exact same push at the exact same time. What is happening in remote villages in South America and monasteries in Eastern Europe that proves this is a coordinated effort from heaven. The global scope of this phenomenon is shocking, and we need to explore that next. In remote villages in South America, elderly women are reporting dreams of the exact same maternal figure delivering warnings identical to those being heard in Medjugorje. From the silent monasteries of Eastern Europe to the bustling parish churches of North America, believers are describing an inexplicable urgency, a sudden, synchronized push toward deeper prayer and immediate conversion. These phenomena are not isolated incidents. They appear to be part of a coordinated divine intervention reaching every corner of human civilization. The warnings of the Virgin Mary through Mirjana seem to be echoing simultaneously in the hearts of the faithful worldwide, creating a global awakening that transcends cultural and geographic boundaries. This synchronicity suggests that the message received on the hills of Bosnia carries implications for the entire human family. But the specificity of the recent warnings has taken on prophetic dimensions that demand serious scrutiny. Sources close to Mirjana reveal that the Virgin Mary has spoken of events set to unfold in the first months of 2026. These aren't vague predictions. They are described as events that will serve as unmistakable signs for those who have eyes to see. These developments will reportedly create conditions where every human being will face clear choices between spiritual truth and worldly deception. No one will be able to claim ignorance or neutrality when these decisive moments arrive. The urgency in these messages stems from their description of a rapidly approaching threshold, a line in the sand, beyond which the current opportunities for conversion will no longer exist. The Virgin Mary speaks of a time approaching fast, where the clarity of choice currently available will be replaced by confusion and chaos. Those who fail to make their spiritual decisions during this current window of grace may find themselves unprepared when the trials intensify. Particularly serious are the warnings regarding the spiritual condition of religious communities themselves. The Virgin Mary does not spare even those who consider themselves faithful in her urgent calls for conversion. She speaks of lukewarm believers who practice their faith as a mere routine rather than a living relationship. She warns of religious leaders who have compromised eternal truths for temporary acceptance. These internal corruptions within religious institutions are presented as among the most dangerous deceptions, precisely because they appear under guise of authentic faith. The messages emphasize that the impending trials will separate authentic faith from mere religious sentiment. Those whose spiritual lives are built on solid foundations of prayer and sincere sacrifice will stand firm. However, Those whose faith exists only on the surface, maintained by habit rather than deep conviction, will find themselves shaken and potentially lost when the spiritual earthquakes begin in earnest. But the warnings didn't stop at the church door. The Virgin Mary also addressed a very modern battlefield, the screen you're looking at right now. She spoke about technology and how it is being used to spread a counterfeit spirituality. What does she say about the digital age and how can we protect our minds? The recent apparitions have addressed a modern battlefield that didn't exist when these events began 40 years ago, the digital realm. The Virgin Mary explicitly warns of deception spreading through digital networks, false prophecies and counterfeit spirituality, designed to lead sincere seekers away from authentic truth. She describes how the very tools meant to connect humanity have been weaponized to spread confusion and moral relativism. We scroll looking for connection, but often find only distraction or deception. Her warning is specific. Only those rooted in traditional prayer practices and authentic spiritual discernment will successfully navigate these technological snares. She is calling us to unplug from the noise and plug back into the source. But the message goes deeper than just technology. The warnings speak broadly of a purification that will touch every aspect of human existence. It is crucial to understand her perspective here. This purification is described not as a divine punishment from an angry God, but as the inevitable consequence of the choices humanity has collectively made. It is a law of cause and effect on a spiritual level. When societies abandon divine principles, when individuals prioritize material success over spiritual growth, and when leaders make decisions based on political opportunism rather than eternal truth, the resulting chaos serves as a correction. We are seeing this now. Political instability, economic uncertainty, and moral confusion are characterizing societies across the globe. The messages present these conditions not as random hardships, but as symptoms of humanity's collective drift from divine order. As we navigate these complex times together, we want to ensure you stay connected to the truth. To join our community and never miss an inspiring story like this, please consider clicking like and subscribing to the channel right now. Your support helps us spread this message of hope to others who need it. The urgency of the situation is perhaps best reflected in the messenger herself. Those who have witnessed Medjugorje during these recent apparitions describe a profound transformation in her very presence. The gentle visionary, known for a calm demeanor over the decades, now carries a visible intensity. Witnesses say she speaks less of comfort and consolation these days, focusing instead on the immediate need for spiritual preparation. This shift in emphasis mirrors the evolution of the messages themselves, from eternal guidance to urgent warning. Her visible burden regarding the spiritual fate of humanity reflects the gravity of the divine communications entrusted to her care. She knows what is coming, and her demeanor tells us that we need to get ready. As we approach the final chapter of this report, we must confront the most chilling aspect of the new messages, the specific mention of time. The Virgin Mary is no longer just saying, pray. She is talking about a clock that is ticking down. What does she say about the window of opportunity? And why are the youth specifically mentioned as the key to the future? Chapter 7, The Choice of a Lifetime. As we stand on the threshold of a new era, the warnings delivered through Medjugorje carry a weight that can no longer be ignored or delayed. The urgent calls from the Virgin Mary for immediate conversion are echoing across every continent, reaching into the hearts of those who can sense the gathering spiritual storm on the horizon. We are living in a moment of history that will not repeat itself, a unique convergence of circumstances that offers us either unprecedented grace or the risk of devastating loss. The specificity of these recent revelations has even captured the attention of the highest levels of the Church, with reports suggesting that special commissions are now quietly examining the accuracy of these prophetic words regarding the year 2026. The stakes for our generation could not be higher, and the time for decision is growing shorter with every passing hour. We must remember the words of the Holy Scripture in the book of Hebrews 3, verse 15. Today, if you shall hear his voice, harden not your hearts. This biblical truth serves as the ultimate foundation for the messages we see unfolding today. The window of grace remains open for now, but the messages suggest it will not stay open indefinitely. The Virgin Mary's recent communications highlight that our modern world offers many empty promises, but only a return to divine truth can provide what our souls truly crave. Whether it is a spiritual chill settling over society or confusion within our own communities, the remedy remains the same: prayer, conversion, and a sincere return to a living relationship with God. This is not about politics or simple religious routine. It is about the eternal destiny of every soul on earth. We are being called to move beyond a lukewarm faith and to build our lives on a solid foundation of prayer and sacrifice, so that we may stand firm when the spiritual earthquakes begin. As we conclude on this profound theme of spiritual awakening and the urgency of our times, we invite you to declare your faith and your commitment to this journey. Comment, "Jesus is King," below to affirm this truth with us. By doing so, you stand with a global community of believers who are choosing light over darkness and truth over deception. And remember, your journey doesn't have to stop here. Click on the video appearing on your screen now for another powerful message we prepared for you, designed to strengthen your heart and deepen your walk with the divine. May you walk in peace, vigilant in prayer, and always ready for the blessings that await those who answer the call.